Hello everyone, I'm GregSolomon. Now, as a lot of you might know, there was an online cyber poker match going on between Renetto and several other people, including myself. And this online cyber poker match occurred over the course of several video clips. Now, I'm sure that there's a lot of you out there that would like to know exactly what went on, but you don't really feel like sifting through all of the video clips. So what I've done is I've put this video clip together as a public service in which I have condensed everything and just formed a brief synopsis, starting with the beginning and taking us through to the end, and just to show everyone what happened during this online cyber poker match. Now, this is the video right here that started it all. Mr. Renetto's video entitled A Conversation with YouTube. What we see here, Mr. Renetto, he's standing right outside his house and he's looking at his laptop computer and he is reading an email off of the computer, an email that he received that he thinks is from Steve Chen and Chad Hurley. Before we get started, though, let me point something out to you, if I could. Excuse me, I'm going to use my pipe as a pointer. Right over here. You see up and down there, see all the paint chipped off of the doorway? Now, if Mr. Renetto were an average working guy with a lot of irons in the fire, well, this would be totally understandable then. Putting this off until you have time to do it. However, Mr. Renetto has described himself as being self-unemployed, which would indicate to me that Mr. Renetto has a lot of free time on his hands. Therefore, with all that free time, I would say that this tomfoolery right here is unacceptable. What I would advise you to do, Mr. Renetto, it's Sunday afternoon, I would advise you to go out into your garage and get a paintbrush, some paint, and take care of this. Just take a few minutes. Take care of it. You're self-unemployed. You have a lot of time in your hands. Take care of this tomfoolery this afternoon. Don't let another day go by until that is touched up and taken care of. Now, let's get down to business here. As I said, Mr. Renetto is reading from an email that he believes he has received from Steve Chen and Chad Hurley. Let's listen.
Most importantly, we value you greatly as a YouTube member and content creator, and would love to have an open dialogue with you about a number of things. So the next day they called, and we had about an hour conversation and talked about a lot of things.
Talked about a lot of things. So he thinks that not only did he receive several emails from Steve Chen and Chad Hurley, but he thinks that after he sent them his phone number in an email that they actually called him. He thinks it was actually Steve Chen and Chad Hurley and all the powers that be at YouTube that called him and talked to him for about an hour. Well, what I went ahead and did, well, several people actually told Renetto that they thought he was BSing. What I did, I created a video clip in which I politely told Mr. Renetto that I thought he was the victim of a practical joke. That's what this video is. I sent him this video, and I said I think he was the victim of a joke where some pranksters were kind of baiting a hook, like a fishing hook, and they're kind of reeling him in. Watch what I say. Watch what I say to Mr. Renetto.
And all of a sudden Renetto just struck at that bait, see? And now what the guy's doing is just reeling him in, see? Just reeling him in. Now that's what I think's going on here, Mr. Renetto. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and say that I don't believe that you're actually intentionally deceiving anyone into thinking that you're engaging in dialogue with Steve Chen and the powers that be at YouTube. I just think an individual and some of his buddies are actually just having some fun and some laughs at your expense.
Well, now after I upload this video clip, instead of Mr. Renetto just saying, well, here, I'll just show you the proof, I'll show you the emails, he says his camera is built into the screen of his laptop. All he would have to do is turn his laptop around to a mirror and show us very easily the emails. But anyways, instead of presenting some proof, some sort of proof, what Mr. Renetto does instead is he challenges everyone to a game of poker. He says, I do have proof, and I will bet anyone out there who doesn't believe me $100. He says, let's play some poker. And he challenges everyone. Listen to what he says to everyone.
The consequences, if you're wrong, you pay me $100. Because it's a bet. It's a $100 bet. I, on the other hand, if you're brave enough to respond, which I'm sure nobody will, I'll say, hey, I was bluffing, I'm lying, and I'll pay you $100. Now, let's say 10 people respond. 10 people are brave enough to put their money where their mouth is, not to just criticize, but actually stand up and say, I'm pretty sure what I'm saying here. You 10 people all individually only have $100 to lose if you're wrong. I, on the other hand, have to go pay out $1,000 to all 10 of you, and it could be 20 responses, could be 100 responses. I have a lot to lose. I'm putting my money where my mouth is, all in. I'm looking at my cards.
Okay, well, several people take Mr. Robinette up on his bet, including myself. And what I do, though, is I upload a video clip to Mr. Robinette in response to his poker challenge, and I reveal to him that I have an ace to play. Watch.
But I think what you don't realize, Mr. Robinette, is that I have an ace to play.
Mm-hmm. Now, what my ace is in the form of a conversation that Mr. Renetto had out on Stickcam after he made his bet, after he was telling us that he had a pat hand and he had the proof and challenged everyone to bet him $100. Well, then he went out shortly thereafter and he had a conversation out on Stickcam with someone. And unbeknownst to him, that conversation was recorded. And I have that recording. And that is my ace. I played it to him. I uploaded the recording, I played it to him, showing that not only did Mr. Renetto not have a pat hand, he wasn't sure what he had, and in fact admitted that it might even all be a hoax, that he might be the victim of a hoax. Let's listen. Hear what he says.
Here's what I don't mind doing. I don't mind saying that it is completely possible that the 5 emails that I've had since then aren't really from YouTube, even though they have a username and it says @youtube.com. It is possible. And if it's a hoax, it is. It hasn't affected me.
Uh-huh. So now we hear Mr. Renetto saying that, in fact, he might be the victim of a hoax. He actually admits it. Now, before, he was challenging everyone to bet him $100, saying he had the cards. He's holding up the cards. Well, now we see that actually he doesn't have any cards. He doesn't have any proof. In fact, he himself even admits what I told him, that it might just be a hoax. And so I told Mr. Renetto that because I played my ace, he would have to fold his hand. However, instead of folding his hand, even though he had no cards to play, Mr. Renetto insists on showing his hand. Let's see what happens.
I guess I have to show you my hand eventually. Here we go. That's right. The truth of spades. That's the best I could do. I had to draw this one with my right hand and this one with my left hand, so...
As you heard him say, that's the best he could do. The truth of spades. No cards in his hands. Now, you know, I want you to picture this, that Mr. Renetto is playing poker at the table with some of those guys that you see on television playing professional poker. Phil Hellmuth, who's that long-haired boy? Chris Ferguson, Doyle Brunson. Yeah, let's say he's playing with Mr. Doyle Brunson, and Renetto moves all his chips in and says, "I'm all in." And Doyle Brunson furrows his brow and looks at his cards, looks up at Renetto, and says, "Call," as he pushes all his chips in. And then he says, "Let me see your hand, Renetto." And Renetto holds this up. No cards. But he just says, "I've just written on my hand the truth of spades." Well, folks, don't you know that Doyle Brunson would look at him like a dog at a new dish? I mean, that's ridiculous. He has no cards. He has nothing in his hand. Well, I come out with my Renetto has no cards video, and I tell Renetto that, look, you have no cards, you have no hand, and you've presented no proof. And Renetto finally comes out with this video clip where he says, well, let's just listen to what he says.
So, I guess I'm not really much of a poker player.
No, I guess you're not much of a poker player, Mr. Renetto. However, on the other hand, I am a good poker player. And I would admonish you to remember that before you ever challenge anyone again. Until next time, everyone, this is GregSolomon saying take care.